now as well with our international affairs editor, Philip Turle. Philip, let's talk about the aid, first of all, as we did with Nogga, this resignation as well yesterday of Jake Wood, the executive director of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. What on earth is going on here?
Right, OK, well, the first point here, I think should be really underlined, is that this is a private company. This is not a bona fide humanitarian organisation like Doctors Without Borders or the World Food Programme, for example. This is an organisation that has a base in Delaware in the United States. It was only created back in February this year. And as you were just saying, the executive director, Jake Wood, resigned the day before yesterday in a surprise decision, basically because he's not in agreement with the way that this humanitarian foundation, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is being organised. He's been replaced by a man called John Acree, who has been well known in the United States for organising disaster relief, particularly during flooding, for example. But there is a lot of suspicion about the aims of this organisation and the fact that it was created by the United States and has the backing of Israel. What is it going to do? How is it going to set the humanitarian organisation up? As we were just hearing from Noga, nothing appears to be happening right now. It's not even bringing any aid into the Gaza Strip. But what they're planning to do is to set up 4 different areas within the Gaza Strip where that aid is brought in, which means basically that all of those who require it will have to walk long distances to collect that aid, and it will be given to them in boxes which weigh about 20 kilos each. And that means that those people who are injured, who are frail, who are children, will not probably be able to carry those boxes back. And it will also endanger them going to these distribution centres because they have to walk there. And if they're injured, for example, they won't be able to do that. So it just remains to be seen how this aid is going to be handed out. Now, there are also claims and a lot of suspicion behind the scenes about the ultimate goal of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. That's to say that it's not really set up to operate like a normal humanitarian organisation. What it wants to do is to feed civilians who can get to the distribution centres, these 4 centres in central, basically southern Gaza, and then not hand out any food to any person who is suspected of being a member of Hamas or who is known to be a member of Hamas. That's to say, to starve Hamas out, to weaken them so that they will then have to surrender. So it's not being used as a humanitarian organisation, but as an arm of war or a war weapon to try to weaken Hamas further. And therefore, it's not being created with an objective decision-making body, but more or less under the auspices and under the desires of the Israeli government.
What about all that confusion there that Nogga was talking about to do with his claims of the ceasefire, Palestinian claims of a new ceasefire agreement in the pipeline? How might it work?
Well, that also, I mean, as we just were hearing, looks incredibly unlikely right now because there's a lot of, as they'd say in French, cacophony coming out, or different points of view and no agreement. So first of all, it's a 70-day ceasefire. It would end up with the release of 10 living Israeli hostages. That's to say 5 who were released straight away at the start of the ceasefire, and then another 5 when the ceasefire was due to come to an end after 70 days. And there would also be a partial Israeli withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. No news from Benjamin Netanyahu as to whether or not the government would be ready to accept this. That's the first point. And then all this confusion between Hamas and the United States and Israel over whether or not they had accepted it or no, they hadn't accepted it. It was supposedly based on a plan put forward by the US envoy, Steve Witkoff. But the US has said, well, no, in fact, it's not based on a plan put forward by Steve Witkoff. A Hamas source on Monday said, yes, we are willing to accept this proposal. And then another statement afterwards said, no, that we're not willing to accept it. Israel has said that it is not willing to accept it. That was a report today on AFP, the French news wire, quoting an anonymous Israeli government source saying this ceasefire proposal cannot be accepted by any responsible government. It does not match one put forward by the US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. So what we're seeing is basically no advance on any kind of ceasefire deal, no hope of any ceasefire deal in the coming days, and certainly no positive remarks coming out from the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Philip, thanks very much. Philip's going to stay with us to talk about Europe in a few